Welcome to Garden Buddies. As you know, these are very unusual times, and we weren't sure what was going to happen with the Garden Buddy program, but we decided to go for it this year. We didn't want the garden to lie fallow. We thought that it would be good if we could eventually incorporate the participants, which would be wonderful. And we received a wonderful grant to help us with the garden, so we were very excited to get it started. So the Garden Buddies is part of the ASPNC programming. It's a little bit of an unusual one, and our mission is the same as it is for all of the programs. It's to enrich the lives of our participants. And I think we do this in Garden Buddies in many unique ways and many fun ways. Of course, we do gardening and learn about the garden. We learn about how to plant seeds, we learn how to thin, we learn how to put down fertilizer and why that's important. We learn how to mulch. In fact, we do some experimentation. First we did try grass clippings. One of our participants, Blair, would bring us some clippings from whenever people would mow their lawn. We tried straw, we tried wheat screen, so you know, it's part that, part learning together about different things, but it's also beyond just the gardening part. Part of it's a sensory experience of loving nature, of being out here in the garden and just touching the plants and smelling the different plants. And who wouldn't love to try a fresh tomato, a little miniature tomato right out of the garden? So, you know, it's very comprehensive in the kind of things that it does. But I would say probably one of the biggest things that comes out of Garden Buddies is the socialization part, because we are a community. And I think that's what we miss the most. Those of us who have started the garden, the volunteers, miss having our participants here, because they, of course, are the lifeblood of our program, and we form a special bond in Garden Buddies, I think because it's a small program, it's so personal, and we really miss having them there. But we are going to incorporate them, hopefully in the middle of July, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. But part of the socialization and the fun part of Garden Buddies is when we take our break for our snacks. And snacks usually happen here under our tree, and we get in a big circle, and we usually have something nutritious, of course, sometimes from the garden, sometimes a salsa made from the garden, sometimes a zucchini bread. But then we also have our sweet snacks that we all enjoy. I mean, who can't live without a little bit of chocolate to dice things up? And during that time, we also tell garden jokes, and we have a lot of fun together. So I'll try a few garden jokes out on you. So who's the coolest vegetable in the garden? Think that would have to be the radish. Now maybe you're not as old as I am to know what rad means really cool. So which of the vegetables likes animals the most? Well, that would have to be the zucchini. So what happens if an elephant walks through your garden? What do you get? You know this one. You get squash, right? So which of the vegetables in the garden is the most fun? Well, that would have to be the mushroom, because he's a fun guy. All right, enough of that. So the garden program runs usually from May until September, because we go through the planting of the gardens all the way to our harvest time. So that's our usual schedule. So this year we have started the garden with the volunteers, but in the middle of July we're hoping to add a few participants. Now, because that's a special year, I just want to assure you that we're going to follow all of the state and local regulations, that we've been trained for that we are planning to have participants wear a mask, socially distance and use their own tools so they won't be touching anything else. So we've really thought this through. We've had our training, and we feel very comfortable that we can keep the garden safe for everyone. If anyone else is interested in joining us, please call the adaptive office and let us know. So I invite you, all of you, to come and see our garden. It's located behind our town hall. When we first started Garden Buddies about 10 years ago, it was up at Sunset Hill. But then they changed hands, we had to move, and the town allowed us to have this wonderful garden right back here. So come by and visit and see our tomatoes growing and see the structures that Lisa's going to talk about in a minute, and see our wonderful dancing lady and the scarecrow in our garden, and we would really like you to do that. So next we're going to hear from our other volunteers. Kathy Levitt is going to tell us all about the grant that we received, our very exciting grant from the Master Gardeners Association. She'll tell you a little bit more about that program. Lisa's going to show you some of the new equipment that we've been able to purchase through that program, and also give you a little guide around about the different structures that we have in the garden, which is kind of fun. And then our own Janice Hogan is going to give us a garden tour. So we'll see you soon at the end.
I'm Kathy Levitt, and years ago I went through the State Master Gardeners program. It's a program to train amateur gardens all over the state. Every county has a program, so everyone's welcome to do that. Every year, Master Gardeners donate 15 hours of gardening time to a project that's good for the communities they live in. I started out at the nursing home, and then I eventually heard about this program with Adaptive, and I was very excited to jump in and be part of it. And it's been a wonderful experience all around. Last year, I applied for the Master Gardeners Association grant, which supports Master Gardeners, and we received a $1,300 grant for equipment for the garden. We've always, volunteered our own equipment, but this year, with our grant, we were able to buy real solid equipment for the garden and for our adaptive participants. It's sort of a time-changing event for us, because now we have what we really need to help our people. One of the things that we bought was kneelers, so they can easily get up and down. And we have a cart for weeds for the first time. We'll have a composter. We always make our scarecrow, but this year she's even more elegant than she has been. And Gary Sheehan, who runs the program, came up for a visit. He was so excited to see our garden, and he's coming back to see how we operate with our participants. Of course, it's different this year, but it will still be joyous to have them with us. And that's about it. Thanks.
Hi, I'm Lisa Woodward-Winning, and welcome to our garden. I wanted to explain a few things about what we're doing here. And this year we're having a production garden. In the past we've done different types of vegetables and things just so we could get the participants familiar with growing different things. This year, because the participants aren't here as often, we've decided to do things that we could possibly donate to food co-ops or senior centers. So what we're doing is, I think Janice is going to give you a tour of the garden, but that's the reason we've chosen the crops we're choosing this year. We have the old-fashioned tomato steaks, we have some wooden steaks, and we also have I call it the Italian trellis because when I was in Italy, that's how they supported the tomatoes, and I just loved how that looked. So that's a experiment this year. I think we have about 27 tomato plants, so we should have a lot of tomatoes. And with the wonderful grant we got from the Master Gardeners, we have bought landscape fabric new this year, so it all looks nice and neat and no holes, so that's great. This is one of the wonderful things that we're able to buy as well, and it's a tripod sprinkler which will reach the whole garden in one time. We used to have 2 different sprinklers, so now this is great. We can be less time watering and more efficient. This is also something I saw on Pinterest, and it's where our pole beans will climb up here. We always are trying to think of ways to make it more adaptable for the participants as well, easier for them to pick. We want to do some trellises also for the cucumbers so that participants can pick those. But other than that, the other wonderful thing that we just got is this great wagon. It's going to be easy for the participants to pull. We can put our soil in it. We can put our soil amendments in it. It's also a dump. We have one participant in particular that is in charge of, in the past has been in charge of our compost. So I think he'll love this. And he can wheel it over to our dumping area. And I think that's about it.
Yeah, this is our new friend. We need to name her. If you have any ideas, let us know. So I'm going to start with our tour of the garden. Here we have zucchini, the whole row. If you come down this way, you can see the zucchini starting. We had the flowers and then a little piece of the fruit. And I think Lisa mentioned, we're so excited, this is our beautiful watering tool. Still not sure who made this. This is for our pole beans. You come up here, they'll get some nice vines, and this will all be covered with delicious beans that Allie can eat later on. Here we have our carrots. You can see their fuzzy little tops in there. There's some that are bigger. A couple of weeks we might be able to pull a tiny one out. More tomatoes. Our friend Lisa saw this, I believe, on a show. And this is how they put the barriers up for the tomatoes to climb. And Italy, I believe she said. We have more carrots here. More tomatoes. See, cages, that's what they call them. And I think that this, we'll have to take a look. Eggplant. So we can have fried eggplant and tomatoes when it's all done. Come this way. Different kinds of tomatoes. These are the little cherry tomatoes. These are the big beefsteak tomatoes. And over here, everybody's favorite, our sunflowers. So we can get our bees and our other birds that will come in and help us pollinate the garden. And that's pretty much it. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for joining us in our first Garden Buddies video. Everybody's learning here, including us. We hope to have a couple more. So please join us, and please watch for that on both the newsletter and also on Facebook. We'll have a link to that video. And that next video will be featuring the premiere of our disco dance video. If you haven't heard about that, we took the disco challenge from Meadowstone Farm, and we had a great time dancing around our garden to some disco music, and it's a very fun video. And you'll see a lot of familiar faces in it. So please join us for that. and then we hope to it'll have at least one more, maybe showing you a little bit about how the garden's coming and our participants. And of course, we always have to throw in a few garden jokes. So please join us, watch for those videos, and thank you so much for letting us tell you about our garden.